Hello everybody, and today we are here with another board game review. Today we'll be reviewing Catan Rise of the Incas. I don't know.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we'll be telling you that why you should play Catan Histories Rise of Incas. Catan Histories is another branch of Catan base games or standalone games, but set in historical timelines throughout the world histories. And Rise of Incas follows the path or follows the history of the Inca region, which was the South American Peru region, where different tribes went. And instead of depicting a random or fantastical kind of city of Catan, instead, this one you will be establishing the Peru region or the Inca region, Inca tribes you will be depicting in this version of Catan. Now, in this review, we will be not only covering how you play the base game of Catan, because I just realized, we have never done the review of base Catan game on our channel.
Yeah. Oh wait, yeah, we never did.
But anyway, so in this one, we'll touch base on how the base Catan works, and we will not be going deep into the rules because otherwise, then we cannot explain the differences. But we will discuss enough gameplay features so that you can understand the differences. If you have played the base Catan, then it will be better for you to understand. But anyway, we'll try to cover as much as possible. So first, let's get closer to this board, which does represent the coastline of Peru, which is on the west side of the coast. So that's why on one side there is water and one side there is thick jungle. So let's closer to that board and let's build our civilization of the Incas. Let's see how the game actually works. I'll be explaining some of the basic rules of Catan. So even if you have not played Catan, you will be able to understand what's happening in the game. And then I will start explaining the differences. And as I explain the differences, I am going to tell that whether that difference works in a better way to fix the problems of base Catan, or are they still going to be there, or it's just something new which might not be that much useful. So how the game actually works is that on any player's turn, they are going to roll the dice. Once they roll the dice, then whatever is coming on the dice, you will be activating that area of the land, and that land is producing results. So for example, I rolled a 12. So we will see, for example, this is 12. No settlement was adjacent to this 12 region. So currently no player generated any resource. But let's assume that it was something else like a 6. So on 6, any settlement that is adjacent to this area is going to generate resources because this land was more fruitful. This land produced resources. So on the 6, I was the only settlement. I am the blue player. I have a settlement over here, and I will be producing as many of that resource as represented by my settlements. I have one settlement, so I will produce one wood, which is this one. So each area is going to represent this. So for example, mountains represents ores. These farmlands or mountains with llamas on them represents llamas, or you will get wool from those llamas.
Llama?
These potato lands are going to generate potatoes, which base Catan had wheat for those. So that's changed to potatoes now. And from this area, quarries, we are going to get bricks. So in this way, we'll be collecting
I think it's
resources.
pronounced queries.
Queries. Once you have enough of those resources that you need, the second thing you can do on your turn always starts with rolling of the dice. Once you have taken your turn, then the second thing is, if you have enough resources to meet the requirements of any building, then you are going to do that building action. So for example, what can you build? Right now, each player starts with a settlement and a road, but they can build additional roads. To build additional settlement, you need to expand and you need to build roads. So it requires a wood, which I have, and a brick. So previously, if I did have a brick in my hand, One of the things I can do is return these back to the bank to actually do a construction action and build a road. Whenever I build a road, I have to connect to my existing network. I can extend an existing road, or I can extend from one of my settlements and do anywhere I like. So for example, here I want to extend further the network, and then in future turn, if I have enough resources, I can build another settlement here as well. So if I had another settlement, I would need to give a wood, a brick, potato, a wool, and then I can build a settlement. If I need to upgrade it as an existing settlement to a city level, then I need to give 2 potatoes and 3 ores. So what's the difference between this simple kind of settlement and a city, which is represented by this model? The main difference being that a settlement produces one resource. So if our 6 dice is rolled, then I'm going to produce one wood. But if I had a city in its place, then I'm going to produce twice that much. Then also I can get one of the development cards by a potato, wool, and ore. A development card is going to give me additional kind of upgrades, and I'm not going to go into that much detail, but there are additional kind of these cards which can give me increased army, which can give me some additional benefits which are on the development cards. But what you're trying to do slowly is you're trying to expand, you're trying to build road connections and then expand your settlements. The more settlements you make, the more closer you are to your victory points. This is all same what was in base Catan. Also remember that if just a point of remember, in this hex for example, around the 9 both players are there. So if Ishal, you roll the dice, and if you get a 6, let's
9.
fake a 6, fake a 6,
Fake it.
so fake a 9, sorry, yeah, 5 plus 4 9.
Baba, what do you want? 6 or 9?
9. So if she was able to roll a 9, then both the players are going, even though it was her turn, but all the players keep getting engaged on the turns, because each player is going to, who is adjacent to land number 9, is going to generate a wool. But see the first difference from base Catan to this one. There is a number 9 over here, so I'm going to get a wool, and this player is going to get a wool. But if you see over here, this is also land number 9, and I am also here, so I'm also going to generate additional wool for this area as well. And that's the first difference from Catan. In Catan, the map was very restricted. Each number that you see on these hex grids was coming only once, but in this game actually these numbers are being repeated as well, and that's how the probability of getting some resource increases. So previously, for example, if a player built something closer to number 8 or number 6, which are very high probability numbers which you can get, if somebody built around those, then the other player was discouraged in coming over there. Because if I already have here, this player is discouraged to come over here, because he says, if I bring my settlement over here, I cannot really expand or build a new settlement over here based on the settlement adjacency rule, because 2 settlements cannot be adjacent to each other. So if I have to really invest a lot in the road network to build a settlement. It's not just worth it. So they never are able to actually utilize that specific number. But now that number exists in multiple locations. Number 8 is over here, over here, over here. Number 6 is here, here, here. Similarly, number 9 is in 3 places, 4 places actually. Number 9, number 9, number 9, and number 9. This player rolled a number 9. He is not only going to get just these, but also the feathers, which is a new kind of resource in this version of Catan. So the resource gathering probability increases exponentially in this version of Catan. This makes the game quicker, even though the map looks bigger, but the game is actually quicker than the base Catan, because you are getting more resources per turn. Then the second difference from this game is going to be the type of the resources. So for example, you are going to get feathers, cocoa leaves, or fish as well. These are represented by these 3 kind of goods which are going to be here, and these goods are going to be what they call as trade goods. So these remaining goods in the center of the board are resource goods which are required to actually do different kind of building actions, but the trade goods are better at doing trading. So in base Catan there used to be ports at the corners, and you had to specially build a settlement at the ports, and then you would get some better preferential rates for trading. But they were not very exciting because you can always trade with other players. Plus, going to a port gives you a trading ratio of better ratio of one specific type of good. But now, using these trading resources, it fixes the second problem which was with Catan, that if the number of players are less, or the players are not very friendly, or not trading with each other too much, then these allows better trading ratios with the bank. These don't help you build anything. These help you trade with the bank for the more useful good resources. So, for example, what those resources can be: if you can give two resources of the same kind, whether two feathers, two fish, or two cocoa leaves, then you can get one of these resources back to yourself. So I can give two cocoa leaves and get one. Before, you had to give three trading goods of the same type. So for example, I have to give three bricks to just get one ore. But now with two cocoa leaves, I can get one ore. So it's a better ratio than your regular trading. Then if you are able to get all three varieties, so for example, one cocoa, one leaf, and one fish, then you can get two resources from the bank of your choice. And all of these helpful building ratios, trading ratios are given on the player aid. So every player is going to get this cardboard just for reference to remember what the trading ratios are going to be. So that's where the trading goods are going to come. And the edges are no longer that much non-lucrative. Previously, in previous versions of Catan, the edge resources were the player would get only two resource options, so his probability of getting things on it were less. But now one of the edges is going to give you still three resources, and one of those resources is going to be a trade resource.
Yay.
So it's still a better fix that they have done with the map of the game. Then what else is new is what happens once your board fills up. Now what you will be tracking is your tribe's progress. You are building a civilization, you are building a culture. But just to keep some historical references, what they have done is that they have kept these tribes as a declining ratio, and these will be tracked across timeline. So for example, right now I have three cities built already, so I will be placing three of these. As I get to build more cities, first of all extend my road network, and then able to build more. As soon as I get my fourth civilization built, then this board is going to indicate that my first tribe is going to go in decline. And this used to happen in reality as well in older times. Well, even if you go long back in history, when there used to be hunters and gatherers, the hunting tribe never used to be more than around 30 people, because then the chain of command became very difficult. So they used to split and become into different tribes, and a lot of different tribes have lived over in this region. And to replicate that, this mechanism exists, and it adds a new mechanism to the game as well. So once you have four tribes, what happens is that your first tribe goes in decline phase. In decline phase, you return all the road networks, so these are lost in time. You have different kind of civilizations left over the board, and you will be putting these thicket vines on top of them to represent that they have gone in decline.
As sort of they were, you can imagine as if they were abandoned, and as time went on, vines started to grow and sort of
Yeah, if you see any kind of old adventure movies, you will see old temples,
like El
archaeological
Dorado.
sites, yeah, with vines and everything, and that's what this represents. But as soon as you do that, immediately you get to start your second tribe with a brand new settlement, and you can place that settlement anywhere on the board. So you are starting a fresh new settlement, and you now get to decide, where do I start? You can start in this area, or you can start all over here and try to be in a location where you were not there before. Why this helps? So for example, in previous Catan game, in the base Catan, what used to happen, if you had originally built two of your starting settlements in a bad location, and later on it was very problematic for you, that okay, now I have built these in this location, but I'm no longer able to get some ore which was over there, and it was too long for me to build a route over to the old deposits. Now you're getting a chance. You are able to actually put your new tribe anywhere on the board where there is an empty space. When you put it, you get one more victory point. So these not only track your victory points, Catan is a race kind of game. So as soon as you have enough victory points, the game immediately ends. That player is declared the winner. You don't even have to count points or anything. The first player who does it is the winner. So that's the first concept in the game that's going to happen. As soon as you are able to start growing your tribe, the other important thing that happens with this is that now you will think that okay, my progress is going to be slowed down. Actually, this mechanism adds beautiful curves to the ups and downs to your Catan game, because these existing tribes are still producing resources for you until someone captures them. So someone, Ishal, in the future can build a road here, and
Don't
once
mind me just evading someone's property.
and since this was under the thicket, she can build her own settlement now in this location. She will still have to pay those resources, but at least now she get to build her own settlement and capture it. But if it is not captured, it is still giving me additional resources on these numbers as well as that number. So that's one of the other mechanisms as well, so that you are getting even more resources than before, and even from those locations which you were having not access to anymore. Your cities should be already in decline.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
just
So anyway, we'll continue in this way, and then a third tribe will go, and then again we will be all over. You will have some declining cities, some new cities once your third tribe starts, and whoever completes their three cities of the first tribe, three settlements, or one city and two settlements, because each city is counted as 2 points and settlement is counted as 1 point. So if they are able to complete that, that player is going to be the winner. And that's how you play Catan, the Rise of Inkas. And you have seen some differences that exist in this version. Now let's get back and give us our final views. You have seen the main differences from the game. The one more difference, which I didn't explain at that time, is going to be this robber.
hello,
Nah.
give it to me, sir.
Now, one more change of the robber mechanism in this version of the game is going to be that in the previous games, whenever a 7 is rolled, 7 is never on the board, and 7 has the highest probability of coming on 2 pair of dice. So at that time, a robber moves on, or the active player moves the robber to any of these hexes and blocks the production of that area. Not only it blocks the production, but also at that time you are able to actually steal one of the resource cards from other player. Also at that time, all the players number of cards resources are checked which they have kept. If they have kept more than 8 or more cards, then they are subjected to kind of a tax, or and they will have to lose half of their cards as well. So it's never a good thing whenever a robber comes. The bad thing in the original Catan was that you were always forced to actually move the robber to other people's settlement and steal from them. That feature still exists in this one, because robber is such a key thing for Catan series that you cannot get away from that concept of robber. But now, if you don't like stealing from others, one of the things that you can do is push them off or make them run away back to the jungle. That's the additional feature. Once you make them run away back to the jungle, then what happens is that you get to get one of these trade goods of your choice. You get to pick them from the bank rather than from the player. So if you don't like stealing from others,
If you're
that's
too
a good
kind,
thing.
yeah. You can also get a card from whatever place the robber was on for free.
Then in that development cards, we didn't talk about them much, but you will be getting army kind of cards, and those army cards are going to help you make these robbers go away, which bring us to these two milestone cards, which are the longest trade route and the mightiest combat arts. Now, in the previous game, there was a longest road card or the largest army card. The concept is still the same, that whoever has the longest route is going to get the longest trade route, because now it's not a road, it's a trade route. So as long as you have the longest trade route, then you will be awarded this card. But previously, this card used to give victory points to the owner of the player. But now the victory points can only be had through building cities. What these cards now additionally do is give you some bonus actions that are going to be available to you. So whoever is the current owner of these are going to get some special abilities that they get to use. Again, I'm not going into detail what those are, but they change slightly over the game. Similarly, for the development card, the slight change is that when your era of the tribe changes, when you go to tribe level 2, then your development card changes from level 1 to level 2 as well. And then you will have slightly different abilities that are going to be presented in these cards. And that's the overall changes which they have done. Now, in my opinion, Ishal, I have told my opinion many times. What about your opinion about these resources, the trading good resources? Do you think that was a good thing?
Yes, I actually think it is wonderful because in Catan there are certain instances when you play with certain players, they take up so much of the board, you're just forced to take the ones that have either really high or really low numbers. And so I think that having these resources will actually improve trying to get resources faster that you don't necessarily have, so you don't necessarily look like an idiot.
Yeah, so even though this actually fixes the problem, it also kind of makes the game very easy also. Um, but again, I think that was the point, that the game has to somehow feel more easier for players who were feeling bit blocked in the original game. But by blocking, do remember that when you are building your new village, if you place it in a tight spot, because at that time whenever your tribe switches, especially if you are in third tribe, if your tribe switches and you are placing one new building, not two settlements, one new settlement only, and you place it in such a location that is already surrounded by many current living tribes, then you have or by yourself blocked yourself, you cannot extend out of it, so you will not be getting any victory points. So you have to remember those kind of things, that where do you place your solitary new tribe when you actually go to the new tribe area.
If that isn't that your enemy abandons their tribe before.
Yeah, so one, that's why it's always better to actually build around the abandoned tribes and try to recapture them, so that you have more options always available to you, even if that means recapturing your own older tribe settlements. So the game flow is very fun in this one, in my
Not
opinion. Those
not while
three.
playing with him. He takes very long. He takes very long.
So
Why
uh,
my voice sound like that?
these three tribes, I think, adds a beautiful flow to the game. You are at your peak getting so much, and then immediately all your roads are gone, and maybe you had the longest straight road card and now immediately it's gone, so it's easier for other players to grab that card at that time as well. So that's why that flow of shifting the game into multiple tribes, restarting the game, or making the game into three different distinct parts, is a very charming solution they have found to actually give the game different kind of flavors while still getting a lot of resources by the end. So you are escalating your growth, but then having some dips in the game as well, so it's a nice feeling. Overall, Ishal, what do you think about the production of the game?
I think it's really nice. I especially love the carvings on the material because they have so much attention to detail. Like, it's astonishing.
Yeah, instead of wooden components, they have gone with plastic figurines. Even though they are hollow, they are not really full solid material, but it looks the part. They have made the models after the Peru villages and settlement, but from very far away there isn't much difference between the cities. It is slightly bigger, but between the city and the settlement many people will initially be confused, but in the wooden figures it was very clearly visible that okay, this is what. But otherwise, the production and the artwork has improved. But I'm still not happy with the Mayfair quality of production because under each of the hex tiles, if you flip them back, they still look so ugly because they are just plain white boards. I don't know why they cannot just put a simple plain color, put yellow color. This simple beige color, which they are using in the
I'm
front, keep them in the back.
I suppose these sort of ran out of budget at this point, so they just kept it white.
Yeah, so it's lazy. These number token tiles, these minimum, the tokens should be minimum double sided so that when you place them on the board randomly, you don't have to flip them over by accident. If you flip them, same goes for these small tokens, you have to intentionally flip them. There is no point in having one side white, so you could easily be placing it like this and then saying it doesn't look beautiful, so you will flip it over. It should have been double sided so that you can place it any side and it still look fine. So that's still, there is still a production issue with the game that they don't use double sided cardboard.
Though I will say I really like the vines. They're really
Yeah, the
fun.
vines are fine. The provided card holders are fine. To pick out cards from this tray is very much easy. So your things do keep properly organized even while you put things back in the box. Now, the last thing that I'm going to say, so it does fix a lot of problems with the base version of Catan. Two problems where I see the game did not bother to fix the base Catan game problem. If you roll a dice and your building is not on that specific number, then what do you get?
Nothing.
And that's not a feeling that any player wants. And they
During
never fix that.
our last Catan game, I was stuck in a position where I couldn't get many resources, and I was not having a fun time at all.
So before I played this version of Catan, I had made a house rule for Catan, base Catan game, that okay, whoever rolls on their turn, whoever rolls a number and they don't get any resource out of that, they get a token. And once you have two tokens, then you can exchange those two tokens for one of the resource goods, which is kind of the concept of these trading goods, that you can give two of them back to the bank and get one of the useful resources. But I had that concept used not as a resource itself. I use that as a house rule for roll a dice, and when you don't get anything, you get that kind of compensation token. And with two compensation tokens, you are going back to your tribe leader and saying that I have hit famine, I am lack of resources, give me more some food, and he's helping you out. So that was the kind of concept of those tokens. I do wish either luck mitigation was there. You could add a +1 or -1 to the dice using some kind of thing. You could give something token to actually mitigate the results, or these resources came even if you were unable to get the required number on your dice, because having a wasteful turn is no fun. We are playing this game for fun. So that is still not fixed in this game, that we need to do you roll something and that problem is you're not getting anything useful on your turn. So if they could have fixed that, that would have been great issue. The second thing that I think they should have fixed is number 2 and number 12. This is number 2 and this is number, where is number 12? Here, number 12. So even though I said as a positive point that the number of times and number repeats on the board has increased a lot, except number 2 and number 12.
They're
Bec-
only ones.
they are only ones because they know number 2 and number 12 are going to come the least number of times. To me, the solution would have been very simple. The number 2 should be called 2/12. Same for 12 token dice. So whether you roll a 2 or whether you roll a 12, then you still get that resource. Then
Yeah,
it becomes slightly more lucrative that
so
you are
like
building.
slightly more bearable.
Yeah, so the probability increases. So these are some house rules that even you can take a Sharpie and just change your copy of Catan. You can have these kind of house rules yourself to fix these two main issues of Catan. Have some token system to give to players who are not getting anything, and fix the 2 and 12 ratio, because again, the player who is forced to build around 2 and 12, they are never happy because it, 2 is ideally the snake eyes, and the box numbers are really not going to come on your dice too many times in your game, once or twice maybe. So that's overall the thoughts. Again, I've given my own thoughts as well on how you can still further improve this version of Catan. Overall, Ishal, would you recommend this version over base Catan, or tell people to get base Catan?
I would honestly prefer this version. I honestly think it's much better in terms of quality. Plus, you get pretty neat die. They actually
Yeah, the
look really
dice are
cool.
more beautiful. So yeah, overall this is a much better version of Catan, slightly more complex as well. So if you are entering into the hobby, then base Catan, nothing beats base Catan, because there are things more going in decline. If you are coming from Catan, and if you have played, I think the best way to be around this version is that you have not bought Catan, base Catan, you have played base Catan at someone's house, you understand how Catan works, and now you get this box, and this becomes your base Catan box because it fixes a lot of the things that you might have played, and now you are getting something better, and then this becomes a very good version of Catan that you can have. So that's it from us. Hopefully, if you are looking for a better version of Catan, then this can serve that game. That's it from us.
Happy gaming!
Happy gaming.
Never played this game with Baba.